My friends, let me tell you something today that I know to be true. God is preparing you for what you prayed for. You may be facing trials, setbacks, and moments of doubt, but let me assure you, those moments are not in vain. They are part of a greater plan, a divine purpose that is unfolding in your life, shaping you, refining you, and equipping you for something far greater than you could ever imagine. You see, when you pray, when you cry out to God, you are asking for His will to be done in your life. You're not just asking for blessings or comforts. You are asking for growth, for strength, for the wisdom to face whatever comes your way. And God, in His infinite love and wisdom, does not give us what we ask for simply in an instant. No, my friend, He knows that we are not always ready for what we ask, and so He begins to prepare us. Think about the process of a farmer who plants a seed. The farmer doesn't plant the seed and expect to see fruit overnight. No, he knows that it will take time, effort, and care. There are seasons of rain, there are seasons of drought, and there are seasons of waiting. But through it all, the seed is growing, it's maturing, and when the time comes, it will produce fruit. In the same way, God is working in your life. You may not see it, you may not understand it, but you can trust that every trial, every moment of struggle is a part of the preparation. God is molding you, shaping you into the person who can handle the blessings you've asked for. Perhaps you've been praying for peace, for joy, for a breakthrough. Maybe you've asked for success, for a better future, or for healing. And yet you find yourself facing more challenges, more obstacles, more pain. Don't give up, my friend. These struggles are not signs that God is absent. No, they are the very things that are refining you. They are the fire that purifies the gold. They are the winds that help the tree grow strong and tall. Remember, God is not in the business of giving us things that we are not ready for. When He answers our prayers, He doesn't just give us what we want, He gives us what we need to handle what He's blessing us with. If He is preparing you for something great, He is preparing your character, your faith, and your strength to carry the weight of that blessing. You see, it's not just about the outcome. It's about who you become in the process. I know it's hard. I know the waiting feels long, and the trials seem unending. But you must understand, the waiting is never wasted. God's timing is perfect. He's not only answering your prayers, He's making you ready for the answers. He's stretching your faith, deepening your trust, and building you into the person you need to be. The road may be tough, but it's leading somewhere beautiful. So hold on. Keep praying. Keep trusting. God is preparing you for what you've asked for, and when the time comes, you will be ready to step into the blessings He has waiting for you. When you are going through difficult times, it's easy to feel as though God is distant or that He's forgotten about you. You pray for certain things, blessings, breakthroughs, peace, and yet the challenges only seem to grow and the answers feel like they are taking too long to come. But what you might not realize in those moments of struggle is that God is working behind the scenes, preparing you for something greater than you could ever imagine. The challenges, the setbacks, the trials you face, they are not signs of abandonment or neglect. They are signs of God's active involvement in your life, molding and shaping you for the blessings you've asked for. God is a loving Father, and like any good parent, He knows what is best for you. He understands that before He grants you the desires of your heart, He must first prepare you to handle those blessings. Imagine a young child who asks for something, maybe a toy or a new experience. A loving parent will not give that child everything they ask for immediately because they know the child may not yet be ready for it. It's not out of a lack of love, but out of wisdom and care. In the same way, God withholds certain things from us until we are ready to receive them. If He were to give us everything we asked for at once without preparation, it could overwhelm us or lead us down a path that isn't truly best for us. God's preparation is not something that happens by accident. It's intentional. Just like a craftsman carefully shapes and refines a piece of wood to create a beautiful, finished product, God is shaping you. Every moment of difficulty, every experience of suffering is a part of His master plan to refine you. The pain you feel is not wasted. It is part of the refining fire, burning away the impurities in your life and strengthening your character. God is not just answering your prayers with a simple gift. He is answering your prayers by making you the person who can fully appreciate and steward the blessings He has in store for you. One thing we must remember is that God's way of preparing us often does not make sense in the moment. It may feel uncomfortable, even unfair at times. The path to your prayers being answered might seem long and winding, but I want you to know that God does not waste a single moment. The trials you face are not punishment, nor are they a sign that God is angry with you. Instead, they are tools in His hands used to shape your faith, your perseverance, and your trust in Him. They are opportunities for you to grow and become the person He has called you to be. When we are in the midst of difficulty, it's easy to become discouraged, to question God's timing, and even to doubt His goodness. But the truth is that every challenge, every obstacle is leading you to something greater. You are being molded and refined in ways that are often unseen. God is working in your life even when you can't feel it, even when you don't understand it. He is making you stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling the blessings that are coming your way. Think about the process of refining gold. Gold is placed in the fire and the heat melts away the impurities, leaving behind pure gold. That process is intense and it requires patience. But once the gold is refined, it is more valuable and more beautiful than it was before. Similarly, God uses the fire of trials to refine our lives, to make us pure and strong. The challenges you face today are a part of that process. They are not meant to break you, but to build you up into the person God has destined you to be. So when you feel like you are in a season of waiting or hardship, remember that it is not without purpose. God is preparing you. The delays, the struggles, the unanswered prayers, they are all part of a greater plan. Trust in God's process. Trust in His timing. He is preparing you for the blessing that you have prayed for. And when the time is right, you will be ready to step into that blessing, stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling it than you ever thought possible. Keep trusting, keep praying, and know that God is working in your life in ways you cannot yet see. Growth is a process, and that process takes time. Just like a seed planted in the ground doesn't sprout into a full-grown plant overnight, the answers to your prayers won't come in the blink of an eye. There is a reason why God doesn't give us what we ask for immediately. He knows that we need time to grow, to mature, and to prepare ourselves for what He has in store for us. The very essence of growth involves patience and persistence. And it is through waiting that we learn valuable lessons that shape our character. Consider the seasons. Every living thing in nature goes through cycles: spring, summer, fall, and winter. Each season plays a unique role in the development of the earth and everything that lives on it. Spring is a time of planting. Summer is a time of growth. Fall is a time of harvest. And winter is a time of rest and preparation. If you were to skip one of these seasons, you would miss out on the fullness of what that season has to offer. Similarly, in your life, each season is important. God doesn't rush growth because He understands that growth requires time. It's in those quiet, sometimes difficult moments of waiting that you are being prepared for something greater. We live in a world that is obsessed with instant gratification. Everything is available at the click of a button. But the truth is, the most meaningful things in life are often the things that take the longest to achieve. Whether it's building a career, cultivating a deep and lasting relationship, or developing a strong faith, All of these things require time. Growth takes time, and there are no shortcuts. We must be willing to embrace the process, even when it feels like we're not moving forward as quickly as we'd like. Think of a tree. A tree doesn't grow by force or by rushing the process. It grows slowly, steadily, and consistently. Its roots go deep into the earth, anchoring it and making it strong enough to withstand storms. Without those deep roots, a tree cannot stand tall or bear fruit. In the same way, your roots, your faith, your character, your wisdom need time to grow deep before you can stand strong in the face of life's challenges. The storms will come, but it's the time spent growing and strengthening your roots that will allow you to weather them. As you wait for the answers to your prayers, remember that it's not just about the outcome, it's about who you become in the process. It's in the waiting that God teaches us perseverance. It's in the waiting that He teaches us patience, trust, and dependence on Him. We often look at the end result and long for it, but we forget that the journey itself holds invaluable lessons. The person you are becoming during this waiting period is just as important as the blessings that are coming. The person you are becoming during this waiting period is just as important as the blessings that are coming. Moreover, growth often requires discomfort. When you stretch your muscles, they become stronger, but that stretching doesn't feel good. When you go through tough times, you are being stretched spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. You are being prepared for the blessings you have asked for, and it's in these moments of discomfort that you experience real growth. The stretching may feel painful, but it is necessary. It is God's way of expanding your capacity, increasing your strength, and making you ready for the new season that lies ahead. There is something beautiful about the process of growth. It's not always visible at first, but when you look back, you begin to see how far you've come, the small steps you've taken in faith, the lessons you've learned through hardship, and the quiet moments of prayer. All of these things contribute to your growth. You may not see the results immediately, but just like a seed beneath the soil, something is happening beneath the surface. Your growth is unfolding, and when the time is right, the blessings you've prayed for will emerge, fully formed and ready for you to receive. When we pray, we often ask for specific blessings, whether it's peace, prosperity, healing, or success. We pour out our hearts, sometimes in desperation, seeking God's intervention in our lives. But there is something crucial we must understand. God knows exactly what we need, even more than we know ourselves. We may pray for something, but God, in His infinite wisdom, answers our prayers in a way that goes beyond our limited understanding. His answers are always perfect, not just in what He gives us, but in how He prepares us to receive it. God does not simply give us what we want, but rather He gives us what we need to handle the very blessings we've asked for. Sometimes we might ask for something that in our current state we are not yet ready to receive. It's like a child asking for something they are not mature enough to manage, perhaps a powerful tool or a responsibility beyond their years. A wise parent, out of love, would not give that child what they ask for, not because the request isn't valid, but because the child needs to grow and mature before they can responsibly handle it. God works the same way in our lives. It's often said that God's answers to our prayers come in three ways: yes, no, and wait. While we may feel disappointed or confused by a no or a wait, we have to trust that God's decision is grounded in His perfect understanding of what's best for us. When God says no, it's not rejection, it's protection. When He says wait, it's not denial, it's preparation. There is always a reason for God's timing, and His decisions are always in line with His greater purpose for us. Sometimes the very thing we ask for might not be in line with God's best for us. We may desire something that seems good at the moment, but God sees the bigger picture. He knows the outcomes and consequences that we cannot foresee. In His love and wisdom, He may redirect us to something better, something that will bring us greater joy, peace, and fulfillment in the long run. And in those moments of redirection, we must learn to trust that God's plan is better than our own. God also knows the deeper desires of our hearts, the desires that we may not even fully understand ourselves. Often our prayers are focused on external circumstances, financial provision, physical healing, relationships. But God is just as concerned with our inner growth. He knows that we need spiritual maturity, emotional healing, and the development of virtues like patience, kindness, and humility. The blessings we ask for may not just be external gifts, but internal transformations. And often, God answers our prayers by first working within us, building our character, and preparing us to handle the blessings that will follow. Consider how God worked with the Israelites during their time in the wilderness. They were promised the land of Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. But before they could enter that land, they had to undergo a period of preparation. They needed to learn dependence on God, to trust His provision, and to develop a sense of unity as a people. It wasn't that God wasn't answering their prayers, but rather that He was preparing them for the land that He had promised. They couldn't handle the blessings He had in store for them without first becoming the people He needed them to be. In our own lives, we may find ourselves in a wilderness of sorts, a season where we feel like we are waiting, enduring hardships, or going through a process that feels slow and difficult. But it's during these times that God is working on us, molding us, and refining us. He's teaching us to trust in His timing, to wait patiently, and to rely on His provision. The work that God is doing inside of us during these seasons is just as important as the blessings we are waiting for. God's answers to our prayers are always perfectly timed. He doesn't give us what we ask for the moment we ask for it because He knows that the right timing is crucial. If He gave us everything at once, we wouldn't be able to handle it. If He answered our prayers prematurely, we might squander the blessings or miss the opportunity for growth that comes with the waiting. The very act of waiting teaches us patience, builds our faith, and prepares us for the future. When we trust that God knows what we need, we can rest in the confidence that He will give us exactly what we need, when we need it, and in the way that is best for us. Sometimes what we ask for may look different than what we receive, but that difference is part of God's perfect plan. What we receive will always be better than we could have imagined on our own. It may not look the way we expected, but it will be far better than what we could have designed for ourselves. And when we see His plan unfold, we'll realize that God always knows best. When we go through difficult times, it can be easy to wonder why we are facing so many challenges. We might ask ourselves, why me? Or why is this happening now? These questions are natural, but they often come from a place of confusion and hurt. However, what we need to understand is that God never allows struggles to come into our lives without purpose. The difficulties we face, though painful, are never wasted. They are part of God's greater plan for us, and through these challenges, He is refining us and preparing us for the blessings we have asked for. One of the most important things to remember in times of difficulty is that the struggles are not signs of God's absence. In fact, they are often the very evidence of His presence and work in our lives. God is not distant when we face hardships. He is right there with us, walking through the storm, providing strength, comfort, and guidance when we need it the most. The Apostle Paul reminds us that in our weakness, God's strength is made perfect. Our struggles are not a reflection of God's failure to answer our prayers, but rather a reflection of His work in us, transforming us into the people we need to be in order to receive the blessings that lie ahead. It's important to recognize that God does not cause our pain, but He certainly allows it. He doesn't bring suffering into our lives just to see us struggle. Instead, He uses our pain as a tool to refine us. Think about how precious metals are purified. They are placed in a fire, and the heat melts away the impurities, leaving only the pure metal behind. In the same way, God uses our struggles to burn away the impurities in our hearts and lives. Those things that might prevent us from fully receiving and appreciating the blessings He has in store for us. Without the fire, without the heat, we would not be refined. We would remain in our broken, imperfect state, unable to fully embrace the goodness that God has prepared for us. Moreover, struggles shape us in ways that success and comfort simply cannot. When we go through difficult times, we are forced to rely on God in ways that we wouldn't otherwise. We learn to trust Him more deeply, to lean on His strength rather than our own. It's easy to trust God when everything is going well, but it's in the tough moments, the moments when we don't know how we'll make it through, that our faith is truly tested and strengthened. Each challenge we face is an opportunity for our faith to grow deeper, for our trust in God to become stronger, and for our hearts to become more aligned with His will. In times of difficulty, God also uses our struggles to develop our character. If everything in life were easy, we would never learn the virtues that are necessary for living a life that pleases God. Patience, perseverance, compassion, humility, and kindness are all developed through hardship. It's through struggle that we learn what it means to truly rely on God's provision, to remain hopeful in the face of adversity, and to trust that He is working all things together for our good. Every time we endure a challenge and come out on the other side, we are a little bit stronger, a little bit wiser, and a little bit more like the person God is calling us to be. Sometimes we can even look back at our past struggles and see how they prepared us for the blessings we are now experiencing. Maybe there were times in the past when we thought we couldn't make it through, but now we can see how those struggles built resilience and endurance in us. They shaped us into someone who could handle the responsibility of the blessings we now enjoy. And while we may not always understand the purpose of our current struggles in the moment, we can trust that God is using them to prepare us for something greater. It's also important to remember that our struggles are not just for our own growth. God often uses our pain and hardship as a way to help others. When we go through difficult times, we gain experiences that allow us to empathize with others who are facing similar situations. Our testimony of God's faithfulness through our trials can be a source of encouragement and hope for those around us. The lessons we learn through our struggles are often the very things that equip us to help others who are in need of support, understanding, and encouragement. Through every struggle, God is refining us. Each challenge, each moment of pain is an opportunity for growth, transformation, and preparation. The waiting, the difficulty, and the hardship are all part of the process that makes us ready for the blessings we have prayed for. Though we may not understand the whys or hows of our struggles in the moment, we can trust that God is using them for our good and His glory. And one day, when we step into the blessings He has prepared for us, we will see how every struggle was worth it, how it all played a part in shaping us into the people we needed to be to receive what He had in store. God's timing is something we can struggle to fully comprehend. We live in a world where everything moves quickly. In many ways, we've been conditioned to expect things to happen immediately. We can order food online and have it delivered within an hour, or we can send a message to someone on the other side of the world and get a response almost instantly. We are accustomed to having our needs met quickly, and often this mindset affects how we approach our relationship with God. When we pray, we want answers now. When we face challenges, we want immediate relief. But God's timing is different from our own, and learning to trust His perfect timing is one of the most essential lessons we must embrace. God doesn't rush His plans. His timing is deliberate and perfect. Even when it doesn't make sense to us, we may pray for something and not see the answer right away, or we may ask God for something and feel like He's silent. But we must remember that God's silence is not the same as God's absence. Just because we don't see immediate results doesn't mean that God isn't at work. The Bible reminds us that God's ways are not our ways, and His thoughts are not our thoughts. He sees the bigger picture while we often only see what is right in front of us. There are times when God answers our prayers instantly, and that's a beautiful thing to witness. But more often, God's answers take time to unfold. This delay isn't a sign of His inattention or a lack of love. Rather, it's a sign of His wisdom and care. God understands that we need time to grow, to develop the patience and strength needed to handle the blessings we've asked for. Sometimes the waiting is part of the answer itself. The waiting teaches us to trust, to rely on Him, and to learn to be content with His timing. Think of a farmer who plants a seed. The farmer doesn't expect to see a fully grown crop the next day. No, the seed needs time to grow, to take root, and to be nurtured. The farmer understands that the crop will be ready when it's ready. In the same way, God plants seeds of blessing in our lives, but they take time to grow. We may not see the growth happening immediately, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. God is working beneath the surface, preparing the right conditions for the blessings to come to fruition. He knows the exact moment when it will be right for us to receive them. When we look at the story of the Israelites, we see a perfect example of God's timing. The Israelites were promised the land of Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. But they didn't enter that land immediately. They had to go through a period of preparation. They had to trust God's provision, learn obedience, and wait for the right time to enter the land. God knew that they weren't ready to fully take possession of the promise He had made to them until they had grown in faith and dependence on Him. Their waiting was not a sign of God's delay, but a sign of His wisdom in preparing them for what He had planned. This example should encourage us to trust God's timing in our own lives. Just as He prepared the Israelites for the promise, He is preparing us for the blessings we've prayed for. There are moments when we feel as though God is taking too long, when we wonder if our prayers will ever be answered. But it's in those moments that we must remember that God is never late. He is always on time. His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't align with our expectations. God's timing also teaches us to be patient. Patience is a fruit of the Spirit, and it's something that grows in us as we wait. God knows that we need to develop patience, perseverance, and trust. The delays in our prayers are not a setback, they are opportunities for growth. When we learn to wait on God, we learn to rely on His strength and trust in His plans rather than trying to control the situation ourselves. In the waiting, our faith is strengthened and our trust in God deepens. Furthermore, waiting on God teaches us humility. It reminds us that we are not in control and that we cannot dictate when or how our prayers will be answered. We are reminded of our dependence on God for everything in our lives. Waiting on God shifts our perspective, helping us to focus on Him rather than on our circumstances. It teaches us to seek His presence more than His provision, to trust in the process rather than just the outcome. As we wait, we also learn that God is more concerned with who we are becoming than with what we are receiving. The waiting period is not a time of inactivity or inactivity, but a time of preparation. God is working in us, molding us, shaping our character, and making us ready for the blessings He has planned. The waiting season is essential because it prepares us to step into the future that God has for us, not only equipped to handle His blessings, but also ready to be a blessing to others. In trusting God's timing, we find peace, knowing that He will bring about the perfect answer at the perfect moment. As we reflect on God's preparation for the blessings we've prayed for, we must understand that every step of the process has purpose. From the moments of growth where we are molded and refined, to the challenges and hardships that shape our character, each part of the journey is necessary. God's timing, His wisdom, and His love are at work in ways we cannot always see or understand. But we can trust that, through it all, He is preparing us for something greater than we can imagine. The waiting, the struggles, the moments of uncertainty, all of these are part of God's perfect plan to ensure that we are ready to receive the very blessings we've asked for. He is not only answering our prayers, but transforming us into the people we need to be to handle His gifts with grace and gratitude. As we trust in His timing and His process, we can rest assured that when the moment comes, we will be fully equipped to step into the blessings He has prepared for us. Remember, God is always at work, shaping, refining, and preparing you for the future He has planned. Trust Him through every season, knowing that His plan is far greater than our own. The journey may be long, but the destination will be worth it. Your prayers are being answered in ways that are beyond your comprehension, and when the time is right, you will see how everything has come together for your good and His glory. Keep trusting, keep growing, and keep waiting, for God is preparing you for what you've prayed for.